Good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I am here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments so that I may answer your questions. So, tonight I have a great topic to talk about, and it's what if you don't qualify for adjustment of status? How can you still fix your status to go on to get permanent residence in the United States? I am going to touch on that. But keep in mind, I'm here to answer your immigration related questions. So even if your question is not related to the topic that I'm talking about, go ahead, feel free and comfortable to put your questions in the comments. So let me formally introduce myself. I'm U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I help clients to get their green card and status in the United States. And I'm also here around 9 p.m. Eastern Time to take your questions. So, first of all, what if you don't qualify for adjustment of status? You should really schedule a consultation because remember, cases can be different. I'm going to talk about some people that don't qualify and some people who qualify just so that you can tell the difference. However, the best way to figure out if adjustment of status is going to be for you or an alternative route is to schedule a personal consultation. So let's talk about that. First of all, who qualifies for adjustment of status? And when I say adjustment of status, I mean it's the process of staying in the United States and applying for the green card. So you don't have to leave, but only certain individuals qualify. And so these individuals are going to be those who can maintain their legal status, so they haven't fallen out of status and they can continue to maintain their status for the entire time that they're waiting on the green card. So for example, if you're on an H-1B and you can maintain the H-1, you have a 6-year H-1B visa, but then your process is going to take 3 years to get the permanent residence, then it's more likely than not that you will be able to stay in the U.S. and apply for adjustment of status. Hello, how do I seek in the USA for a counseling job without any invitation or job offers? So usually when you are applying for employment-based, you can seek that as an extraordinary, if you have extraordinary ability. So for example, in counseling in your field, if you're at the top of your field, and there are specific evidence in play that you would have to show that you're at the top of your field. But if you can show that, then you could possibly apply for the extraordinary ability green card, where you can self-petition, and then when you get here, you could find your employer. Now, keep in mind that the extraordinary ability green card is going to be based on whether you've reached the top of your field, and that means are you well known in your country nationally or internationally for what you do. And then there are other pieces of evidence that you can show. So for example, have you won awards? So there are 10 pieces criteria. And if you can show 3 out of the 10, you could possibly qualify for the extraordinary ability green card. So that's one way that you could apply without getting an employer involved or getting a job offer. What date is the visa bulletin for the F4? So I don't have the specific date on me, but I do know that and you can check that. So if you go to the National Visa Bulletin, you would be able to check that date. So National Visa Bulletin, you can go to the Google, but I do know overall it's taking about 14 years. So SS5920, that means that they're probably just still processing October 2007. So they do update it, and it just means that there are no changes, unfortunately. There's maybe a slowdown, but there have been no changes because they do update it every single month. So now, Who qualifies? Wayne. Okay, thanks. Great. In such case, you're just starting out and want to work in another country. So you would likely need an employer. So you would not be able, unless you qualify for something other than employment based, you wouldn't be getting an employment based green card if you're just starting out in the USA, because I'm only a US immigration attorney. I don't deal with other countries. I was released on bond in 2010. I just received that money back. We didn't request it anything because my case is not done yet. Okay, so yeah, so in this case they returned the bond, and it doesn't necessarily mean that your case is over. Check on your status. I'm not the attorney on your case. I don't know your facts, and so that to be able to determine what's going on with the bond, I would have to get more information about your case. If you really would like assistance moving forward, you can always call and schedule a consultation. Hi, just petitioned my fiance for the K1 visa. Due to COVID, around how long would it take? So it's taking over a year right now. So you could be looking at about a year and a half, unfortunately. Now, keep in mind that these are estimates, and it's not, each case is different. It just depends on what's going on in your case. But the average that I'm seeing is about a year and a half. How does it work to just come by invitation to visit? So you'd have to apply for a visa, even if you had an invitation to visit. The invitation is not necessarily the requirement, and is not necessarily the most important part of the application. Hi there, 49 Drake. It is how do you show that you have strong ties to your home country that would make you return to your home country. Good night. Can you say how many years it takes for an F3 case to be completed? About 12 years right now. Still waiting on my interview. It's been so long. So Ashley, I feel your pain. Everything is backed up right now, unfortunately. I really want to go to the US, but I don't know how. So that is where the consultation can be useful to you. 62 Amal. Call, schedule a consultation. There is a scheduling coordinator who is available up until 11 p.m. tonight. F3, the F3 category is the married son or daughter of a U.S. citizen. So F3 is basically the second to last category on the priority list, and it is taking long right now. So it's taking 12 years for those to process. But the upside of that is that once a U.S. citizen sponsors their spouse, the parent, U.S. citizen sponsors their son or daughter, married son or daughter, the spouse and any children under 21 and unmarried get to go along too. Does it matter where he's from, like Mexico, Philippines, Honduras? So it could, because, there are different processes right now, different processing times at different embassies. Some embassies are closed. Some embassies are open. Some embassies are backed up and they're trying to clear out the backlog. And so the date that you get, if the petition has been approved, then the next thing is, and it gets sent to the embassy. How long will the embassy take to schedule that interview? And I'm aging out, only have a year left. Okay, so Ashley, I'm so sorry. There is a formula that's in place that they do use to determine whether you protect a child from aging out. If you would like assistance with that, you can definitely call and schedule a consultation, and I can determine whether you and it usually is at the point where you your I-130 has been approved. So that's when the formula is approved. Odette Mayers, you are welcome. It's always a pleasure. So I'm talking about adjustment of status. Adjustment of status, if you don't qualify, what alternatives do you have? So let me just quickly go over the alternative, but keep putting those questions in the comments because I'm here to answer your questions. So the alternative here is if you don't qualify to apply for permanent residence in the United States, to stay in the United States for the green card, but you are here, you're living here, you're out of status, then the alternative could be a waiver. So it's called an I-601A waiver or provisional unlawful presence waiver. And you have to have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse or parent who will experience extreme hardship if you don't get the green card. Now, what this waiver does is it allows you to stay in the United States, wait for the waiver to be approved, and then once it's approved, you can once the interview is scheduled in your home country, you can go to the interview and not worry about your the overstay or the unlawful presence being held against you. So is the Jamaica Embassy doing interview at the moment? So yes, they're doing interviews for immigrant visas, but keep in mind that they are backlogged right now, and so it may be taking a while. Now, Ashley, if you're waiting for your interview, you may not age out because you may be protected under it's called the Child Status Protection Act, where there's a special formula that they apply to keep your age under 21 for immigration purposes. So if you would like advice on that, you can definitely schedule a consultation, and I can go over that formula and apply it to your case. A daughter of Zion for life. I filed the VAWA in August 2020, got my work authorization, but no update on my case. So keep in mind that cases are taking longer, and so you are not alone. Ashley, you're welcome. You're not alone in this, daughter of Zion for life. I don't know if you received your prima facie letter. If you would receive the prima facie letter, which indicates that it's sort of like a pre-approval. So it indicates that yes, based on everything that they've observed in your application, you do qualify. So that usually is the next step, but it usually provides you some assurance while you're waiting. The VAWA applications are taking over a year to get an approval, and so it's not at all strange that you haven't received an approval just yet. But make sure you're checking up on your case status. Make sure there's nothing that they want on your end. Make sure that you're getting all your correspondence. I'm just asking random questions. Thank you so much for your time. You're welcome, Crystal. So does the USCIS take long to receive the petition? So no, it doesn't take long to receive that petition. Well, I don't know what you mean though by receive the petition. If you're talking about the mail, getting it by mail, it just depends on how you send it. So for example, if you send it overnight, they'll get it right away. Now, are they taking long to send receipt notices? Yes, you could be looking at 3 to 4 weeks just to get a receipt notice. Receipt notice is that acknowledgement that says that it is in process, and gives you your case number to be able to track your case. I'm just, let me see. So Fisher, thanks so much for the roses, Jennifer Fisher 3. And thanks so much for the good vibes. I'm seeing all the emojis coming up on the screen. Thanks for your good vibes. I appreciate it. What job sponsor can an undocumented get, and how long does it take? What job sponsor can an undocumented? So it depends, right? If you're here without status, oh, thanks so much for the emoji. I appreciate it. So if you're undocumented, there may be ways to fix your status to still be able to be sponsored by an employer. However, this is more tricky and it's more complex. Waivers, the same waiver that I have been talking about, can apply to employment-based visas if the individual is undocumented, but they would have to qualify for the waiver. So does this person who is undocumented, do they have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse or parent who will experience extreme hardship if they don't get the green card? And so even if the parent or the parent or the spouse is not sponsoring them, but the employer is, they can still use that waiver. So that's where Kerry Real Estate SD is very important to get a consultation to sift through those complicated facts. So I have not received an approval. So thanks so much for that information. You're welcome. And I have not received an approval. So I'm thinking you haven't received an approval. The prima facie is not an approval, but it is an indication that you qualify for VAWA. And it is a reassurance and kind of like something you hold on to in case you need to get public benefits until you can get the approval. So can a U.S. citizen child file for a parent on a work visa? So a U.S. citizen child the child has to be 21 and up to be able to apply for their parent. But if they're 21 and up, then they could very well qualify even if they're on a work visa. And actually that parent who's on the work visa it depends on what type of work visa they're on, but they would be able to qualify for adjustment of status. I'm covering cases where people don't qualify for adjustment of status, but it's in this case because the parent is an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, they would qualify. So let's see. Will the USCIS automatically send another biometrics appointment after 60 days if I miss the first time? So it depends. If you contacted them and you rescheduled your appointment, you may get it. No, they're not going to have it down to a science of 60 days. I can tell you that one. There's no guarantee you'll get it after 60 days or within 60 days. But what you need to understand though is that if you miss your biometrics appointment, you need to follow up with them and see if you can get it rescheduled. I don't know if that's what you did, T-Boss. Odette Myers, when your F3 case reached to the NVC around 6 years, are you saying there are 6 years remaining for process? So Odette, keep in mind that the timelines are estimates, right? Yes, the process is 12 years, and so if you're 6 years in, you could possibly have 6 years left. But it really depends on your priority date to get it down to a science. You could check out the National Visa Bulletin where you could see the precise date and look at your priority date to estimate what time you may have left. I have a green card which is still valid and leave American to go back home 8 years now. Can I come back? So this is where I would have to speak with you in a consultation. It really depends. Now, keep in mind that you've been outside of the United States for over a year. It's still valid, but when it's still valid, the card still shows as valid, as in the date. But when you left and stayed outside of the United States for more than a year, it's presumed that you have abandoned your permanent residence and your green card becomes invalid. And so at this point, you would need to apply for what's called an SB1 visa at the consulate to be able to see if you can get back your immigrant visa. Now, to do that, you have to show that you didn't intend to leave the country, that something beyond your control, extraordinary circumstances caused you to stay outside of the United States. And then you'd have to show that even though you are outside of the United States for so long, you continue to maintain your ties to the United States. So, after 8 years, it's quite an uphill battle right there. When you apply for the K1 visa but unemployed, will that affect the application? So keep in mind, you have to submit an affidavit of support, and so yes, it could affect the application, because if you're unemployed and you don't have a co-sponsor who can show that they will be willing to support your the immigrant, then in that case they would deny it, because they want to make sure that you are able to support your fiance coming to the United States. Can an undocumented get a work permit? So you'd have to qualify in some way. Undocumented individuals who apply for immigration benefits, such as adjustment of status, VAWA, T or U visa, can get a work permit while they're waiting for their process to go through. My Life and Kids 5, you're very welcome, and that's why I do this every night, to provide you useful information. Hey, I truly appreciate, and Odette, you are welcome. And it's my pleasure to see you here every night. I really appreciate being here. If green card expires and taking time more than 2 years to renewal, can I apply for citizenship? Parry, yes, Parry, that may very well be possible. I would have to speak with you in a consultation to confirm your eligibility for citizenship. Now, the information that I'm giving you here is not personal legal advice. It is general information. So if you would like personal legal advice, you can always call, schedule a consultation, and we can definitely talk about your particular circumstances. And so in this case, it is possible to apply for citizenship even while you're going through a green card renewal, even if you're renewing your 2-year green card to the 10-year green card. But I would have to check to see if you're eligible in every other way. What are options for an undocumented person? So there are multiple options. That's an extremely broad question, and it really depends on your circumstances, i.e. honey. So if you really are serious about pursuing a solution in your case, or if you know someone who wants to find a solution, or evaluate their options, because sometimes there are no immediate options, you can definitely call, schedule a consultation, and then we can talk about it. What if I have a sponsor but didn't put it on the application? So if you didn't put the sponsor on the application, they wouldn't consider it, and they have to be they actually have to submit a separate application. So so at that point, you wouldn't be able to use a co-sponsor. Honey, yes. So I am looking forward to speaking with you. So keep those questions coming. I am here to answer your U.S. immigration related questions. Now, keep in mind, I have a pre-scheduled live on Instagram, but we don't have to end this conversation. We can just continue it on Instagram. So what you can do is join me on Instagram. I'm at The Immigration Attorney on Instagram. You can go to your Instagram, type it in to search for me, The Immigration Attorney, just like here. Or you can go ahead and if you go to the link in my bio, you would be able to click on that link, and there's an Instagram button. For some people, the Instagram button doesn't work. It works for me. So in this case, you can, if it works for you, go straight there and follow me. And thanks so much, Crystal. I appreciate the likes. So I don't understand, my sponsor has to make an application as well. So Crystal, that's where you should schedule a consultation, because remember, I'm not giving you personal legal advice. It's general information. And so if you are having a hard time with this, the affidavit of support aspect of the application process, you need to get legal advice. When in doubt, when you have additional questions, when you're not understanding, get legal advice. Don't underestimate the process. I've seen so many people get into trouble doing this. How long is the processing time for a parent who is a green card holder to sponsor a child over 21? So it's taking about 5 to 6 years. So I am heading over to Instagram now. Now, if you know that you're going to need a consultation, you can go to the link in my bio. It's going to take you to the website where you can call, you can speak with the scheduling coordinator who's online, or you can fill out a contact form. Ben's boy, you are welcome. You can fill out a contact form, and you would be able to, all of this will lead to the scheduling coordinator, who will then contact you and put you on my schedule so we can talk more about your particular circumstances. I didn't get into the waiver too much. What I do want you to know, the takeaway I want you to get from this is that if you don't qualify, if you're here in the United States, you're without status, and you don't qualify to apply for adjustment of status, there may be an alternative if you have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse or parent who will experience extreme hardship if you don't get the green card. And that will still allow you to go on to get the permanent residence. So we can talk more about that in a consultation. If that is a situation that you're in, you should explore that option. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on Instagram in a minute. If not, in a consultation. If not, then I'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. or around 9 p.m. Eastern as usual. Thanks so much everyone for joining in, and have a good night until tomorrow.